Life's too short to exercise. I'm just going to be honest. There are so many better things to do than exercise.
Okay. I want to mention this because H3H3 is a really funny dude, but he mentioned this thing about exercise, and I hope this is the clip. But just play it real quick. It's only a minute.
Life's too short to exercise. I'm just going to be honest. There are so many better things to do than exercise. We have finite time on this earth. And like, this is what I'm saying.
Look at her face.
Exercise is such a conspiracy. They go, let's say you spend an hour on a treadmill every day.
Money, Ethan.
It's not a conspiracy.
Let me explain why it's a conspiracy. You spend an hour on a treadmill every day.
Yeah.
Somebody get out a calculator. Okay, let's say you live to be 85.
Okay, 85 years old.
And you're exercising every day since 15 years old.
So 70 years of exercise.
70 years. So 70 times 365 and an hour every day. How many hours?
25,500.
Divided by 24.
1,064 days.
Divided by 365.
It's 14
What are we
pages.
doing?
It's just a little under 3 years. Under
3 fucking years of your life walking a treadmill.
Yeah, but
On page 14.
here's the thing. Will that exercise extend your life more than 3 years?
No!
If there's-
What an interesting take. I dig it. I dig it. But
So so here's the interesting part. Like we were just talking about exercise being dumb, exercise being kind of stupid. In what he's saying, like it makes a lot of sense, but exercise will accumulate a lot over time. And depending on what you spend your exercise time doing, if you spend your exercise time lifting weights, you can assist yourself to burn more calories throughout the day, and it could make it easier to enjoy certain foods certain times when you do want to let your guard down and when you do want to enjoy yourself and experience certain things without being overweight, without being out of breath when you go upstairs, without being out of shape for parties or whatever the things are that you want to do. You should be able to experience life a little bit better when you're in better shape rather than worse shape. The thing I do find really interesting, though, is you don't have to spend that time doing something like being on a treadmill. Like that is a good example. Like I think if you are managing your weight and you're on a treadmill and you are fairly happy about it, then I think that's fine. But there's other things that you could be getting to that could probably be a better usage of your time. And I think trying to trade out burning calories and calories in, calories out isn't a great way to look at fitness. And I don't think it even really works that well. If you were to say, hey, I'm going to keep my body fat in check by doing this treadmill every day for an hour, I would say, is that because you like to eat certain foods? Like, what is that for? Because you could simply just change some of your habits with your sleep, change some of your habits with your energy intake, and you don't have to spend that time. I've said this before on the show. Food costs you time. Food is time. The more junk food you eat, the more time you got to spend on it. The more junk food that you eat, the more time you may spend in the hospital, the more money you're going to pay for the more medical bills that you're going to amount, the more prescription drugs that you may need. So I like what that guy's pointing out. I like what he's saying, and it's fun and it's funny. But at the same time, like we don't necessarily need a lot of exercise. So in a way, I agree with him. We don't necessarily need a lot of exercise in order to figure out a good energy balance.
I love Ethan Klein. I used to watch a lot of H3H3 back in the day. Do you guys remember Just the Right Height, No Bucket Required? Yeah. He was like, no, just the right height, no bucket. Okay, he was reacting to a video about a man who loves to have sexual intercourse with horses, and that guy said,
I've heard that before.
Yeah, that guy in the video was like, they're just the right height, no bucket required. So he doesn't have to stand on a bucket to get his thing on with that horse. But Ethan has been anti-exercise for a while, and I think it's really interesting because like I agree with you. I kind of get what he's saying there, like spending an hour on a treadmill each day. But when I look at like resistance training in the gym, there's all the benefits of getting big and jacked and having big muscles. Cool, that's great. But I think of the long term. Like I see my grandma right now. She's 100, right? I know that if my grandma, if weight training was a normal thing to do when she was younger, and if she did it, at this point she'd be walking around a little better. Probably. She'd have more resiliency in terms of her body. Now, she's done a great job since she's walked all her life because her mental acuity and even her body is good to some extent at 100 years old. But I think about some of the stuff that we're doing just to keep muscle mass on. Because as we get older, there's going to come a point where we start to lose a little bit of that muscle mass. Decades and decades. But if we still have the ability at 70, 80, 90 years old to bend down and pick up a dog, a puppy, or walk up the stairs without having pain in our hips, right? Because we have built up these parts of our body to be able to withstand time. That's not just potentially living longer, but also having a just much better quality of life because of the exercise that we do. And the weird thing is that like exercise in and of itself, it's something that's even more necessary because of the way that we live these days. We've talked about this on podcasts, but if you think back to the fucking even the 80s, right? Let's look at the 40s and 50s. People weren't necessarily sitting around on screens or at desks as often. Yeah. Movement was more of a normal thing. Going outside, walking, etc. That was more normal. Now, like, we have to talk about taking walks. Power Project family, how's it going? Now on this podcast, Mark, Andrew, and I, we talk about fasting a lot. We talk about the ketogenic diet and a lot of different types of diets. But Bubs Naturals has a product. They have the collagen protein, which is amazing. They have these apple cider vinegar gummies, which are like crack. But they have
they have these
MCT oil powder packets that I've never used to do this, but in the morning I'll wake up and I'll put it in coffee, and the smoothness, number one, in terms of the mixing is amazing, but the consistency of my energy through the day because of the MCT oil powder is peak. Andrew, how's your experience with it?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's like the best way to start the day. You're satiated, you're energized, and you're just ready to crush the day. So if you guys want to get in on this MCT oil powder, head over to bubsnaturals.com and at checkout, enter promo code Power Project to save 20% off your entire order. Again, Bubs Naturals, promo code Power Project to save 20% off. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
That's abnormal. Everything can come to us. So we need to be using our bodies more so our bodies will be more resilient and last longer. And so that hopefully we can last longer. So it's a necessary thing.
I wonder if this guy are you aware, does he have any like hobbies that where he's like, fucking skiing or water skiing or like
physical wise? Like I don't know if Ethan hikes or whatever, but I just know like whenever exercise, like he in the past apparently he's tried doing that stuff, but it's just never been something that's really been up his alley. Right. And I could understand some people who are like, I don't like to exercise, but I just look at I do all of this because I enjoy it, but I also look at decades down the road, how will my life be if I don't have these habits in line? Because I can see examples of that. I see examples of people who don't really take care of things, who don't move much. And it's obvious to see that we need to do some maintenance of this meat sack if we're going to be able to have it last a long time.
It would be great to try to get a hold of somebody like that and communicate with them and maybe, get them on the podcast or something and say, like, do you not want to, push your mind forward? Because your mind or your brain has like X capacity, like no one really knows what it is. But I'm sure he's very successful.
Extremely.
So I'm sure like he's a guy who's progressing and moving forward all the time. So it appears that he's using, 80% of his brain, and like he's got this capacity humming when it comes to his brain, when it comes to things that are business related. But then his heart, like why would he only set his heart at like 40% of what its capacity is? Like why not expand that a bit? And because we know that when you start looking into other stuff, business-wise or even just interest-wise, how much more that opens up a lot of other stuff. Like, I don't know his background and his history, but I'd imagine something started with one small step in this direction, and it ended up being a giant leap for him in the long run. And that's the way all this stuff works. And so that's why we encourage a lot of exercise. But please forgive us if we sent the message of like, that we think you're a bag of shit if you're not in the gym. Because fuck the gym. Like, I think the gym sucks sometimes too. Like, I don't always want to be in the gym. I've been in the gym for like 30 years and I'm a knucklehead and I understand all that. And I get it. But I like being outside. I like doing other things. So if you never find a real vested interest in the gym, don't go.
Yeah.
You don't have to go.
I agree with that. But I also think, and again, everyone can live their life the way they want to live it. I get that. But I also think that, like, if an individual, so if you want to have a life where there's potentially not a crazy amount of pain in your body as you get older, because you see older individuals always talk about low back pain, knee pain, things start to go. They don't get up as much. They start to be seat bound a lot, where they're just sitting a lot. And if you want to have a life where in the future you take a trip somewhere and you want to be able to move around well, painless, and feeling strong and with vitality, you don't have to go to the gym, but you should find something that can allow you to exert your body in some way and build some muscle tissue, because as you get older, it gets harder to build muscle.
Right.
If anything, the body is like, it gets easier to lose muscle, right? So you want to build a body that's resilient over time, so that when you're in those stages of your life where you're 50, 60, 70, you can still do all those things that maybe you took for granted when you were 20, 30, 40, like going downstairs or bending down to pick something up. All these simple things, you don't want those things to be hard when you're older. If anything, you want those things to just be a part of life, easy. And that's why, like, you don't need the gym, but you still need something that'll allow you to not just move, take walks outside, whatever, but build some muscle. Because thinking outside of just looking better or looking more pleasing as far as your aesthetics are concerned, you want that muscle to be able to function for life. And that's the things that I think about, and that's the things that we think about here.
Body weight exercises, moving yourself up and down, stairs or hills, carrying stuff. Like, you don't have to necessarily hit the gym, but the gym is a way more convenient way of, like, getting a lot of these things done.
Yeah. So Power Project family, I hope you enjoyed this clip. We are on Discord and Reddit. We're trying to talk to you guys and build a community down there. So the links are in the bio. But remember, like, comment, subscribe, share this out with people so you can share the wealth of health. As cheesy as that fucking sounds. Peace.